So an Arkansas state trooper has been retired from the police force because he pulled off a pit maneuver. It's pretty regular. It's what cops do. But why is it that he needed to retire over it? An investigation started because he did it to the wrong car. Really fast, for you guys who haven't watched enough fail videos like I do. A pit maneuver is a technique used by law enforcement to stop suspects during pursuits. In a pit, an officer will strike the rear quarter panel of a fleeing vehicle with the front of their own vehicle in order to make it lose control and stop. By the way, it's a good description, but I wouldn't say lose control and stop. I would say more about lose control, spin out, flip, roll, launch into the air, because that's what happens many times during pit maneuvers. So this Arkansas state trooper pulled one off in this particular video here. So that's dash cam footage from a cop that was behind the car that pulled off that pit maneuver on that white Cadillac. Keep in mind, white Cadillac. In the dash cam footage, a light colored sedan blows past two cops while they sit at an on-ramp. The cops flip on their lights and give chase, immediately losing the sedan in traffic. But eventually they come up on that white Cadillac. The Cadillac seems to see the police lights and begins to pull over to make room for them to pass, but is instead rammed by the officer whose dash cam recorded the crash there. So the Cadillac drove by at some point, I assume not speeding, to the degree that another car flew by. Maybe it was that one. And there's our other officer. And they roll up and spin out this car, and you see it almost go into oncoming traffic. It's a very dangerous result of the situation because the person's fleeing. They want to make sure that nobody dies. So let's cause an accident where someone might die. It's a normal maneuver that cops use. As I said, we've seen it all the time. Thankfully, though, by the way, both of those occupants in the Cadillac were okay after the crash, and Arkansas State Police opened an investigation into that situation. ASP officials said they immediately began that investigation, and the trooper involved in that crash, Corporal, I guess it's Corporal, Thomas Hubbard, has not been on duty since the incident and has submitted his letter of retirement, though. So another car speeds by them. They got the wrong car, flipped and spun them out, and people were not injured. It happens pretty regularly. We'll get to some of those moments, but first, the Cadillac was pulling over. Say it actually was the car, Ray. If the Cadillac is veering towards the shoulder to be pulled over because sirens are on, you know what you could do is pull them over. Instead, they execute the pit maneuver.
Right. I think pit maneuvers should be illegal. And entirely, because I don't care if that was the right car. First of all, of course they were pulling over, but they went into, because of the pit maneuver, they spun into oncoming traffic. They could have died. The drivers driving towards them could have died. The people behind them could have died. And it happens all the time. People get severely injured. People who are just driving their cars, not involved in the police chase whatsoever, get severely injured and die because of pit maneuvers. If they execute a pit maneuver and the police officer dies, because again, they are seriously dangerous, now the person who they did the pit maneuver on is gonna be charged with the officer's death, regardless of whether or not they were even guilty of the thing they were being chased for. It is so dangerous. And I know we're gonna talk about some instances where people did die, but I mean, it should not be legal. They should not be allowed to execute these maneuvers. They always cause more danger to public safety than they eliminate.
And you never know who's in that car, right? Who else may be in that car, or why they sped by you, or what is they're gonna do once you get up to them. Yes, sometimes these are chases that go on for multiple miles and then they go to that point of it. Then I don't know if even things like, they do the strips in front of cars, the blowout tires, which of course affect other cars if they're in that line as well. But then crashes happen from that too. Still though, there's other techniques. Here's one of those instances that you were talking about, Ray, because this pregnant woman was searching for a safe place to pull over when police rammed and flipped her SUV. As that lawsuit states, the USA Today was reporting that back in June of 2021. Check out the ending of that crash there. Also, this case of a 12-year-old kid, Leiden Boykins, and he passed away after Georgia State Patrol trooper followed a suspect's vehicle during a highway chase, then used the pit maneuver to end that pursuit as well. And again, it'll all go back to, well, the person driving should have realized you've got a kid in your car, you shouldn't do these dangerous things or else the cops might come and kill your kid. So it's actually your fault. You may see the logic in that because the situation wouldn't have been what it was if the driver didn't do what he did. I understand that. But there's this thing, this is life that a lot of folks in this country like to say we like to protect. Many times children's lives. And they say folks that are for women's reproductive rights want to kill children as soon as they're born. I guess it's okay 12 years after they're born. We'll blame it on them anyway and not have any other way to prevent that. It's all about punitive, your punishments that you want to push at people and not preventing death. We got him though. 12-year-old kid's dead. We got him. Are you happy? Do you go home and go, that's great. Leading Boykins is dead and it's awesome for us. One more before your last thoughts on this, Ray. Because not only, we talked about Arkansas State Police in the beginning of this. I looked this up too. This is from July of this year. A Lonoke County man was killed on Monday. Again, this is in July, after an Arkansas State Police trooper ended a 14-mile chase by ramming his vehicle, causing it to crash. And that's according to the news release there. It happens a lot. I'm not sure about all the time, but it definitely happens a lot. And at some point, maybe we change that up. It's a regular occurrence. You can look up pit maneuvers and you'll see plenty of stories about people who died as a result of it. And maybe not always the person who was driving, keeping it real.
Yeah, I'll just add that what we saw in that video was a police officer who felt disrespected by a car that didn't immediately pull over when they saw the lights. And instead of engaging in what they're supposed to, he used a pit maneuver as a way to punish them, to get revenge for them, in his mind, disrespecting them. Of course, it was the wrong car and they were actually following the instructions of what they're supposed to do while driving when they see lights come on behind them. But I don't trust cops to do most anything. I definitely don't trust their judgment when it comes to, is it an appropriate time to execute this maneuver? Are there people around who might, end up being severely injured or severely injuring someone else? Because that's the other side of this. That car we talked about went to the other side of the oncoming traffic. If a driver hit them and killed them, they have to live with that for the rest of their lives because the police officer decided he didn't really want to do his job anymore and he just wanted this to end quickly. I mean, I don't trust their judgment, which is why I don't think they should be able to execute these maneuvers.
Well, we go back to training and stuff, but the training is to let them just do kind of what it is that they do. And again, you lose control of the situation once you shove someone in that pit maneuver because you don't control what that car is doing next. The driver who doesn't know what they're doing once it's been spun around is in control, and then you wait for the aftermath to then get your job done.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.